Hi, I'm Don, a technical architect at TSG. In this demo, I'm going to show how we can use HPI as a contract management solution. In this scenario, we're playing the part of Acme Corp, who wants to fill out an MSA for Technology Services Group. I'll start by signing into HPI. Since I want to fill out this MSA for TSG, I'm going to first head over to the search and see if we can find an existing folder for TSG. Now I'll head into this folder to see what files we already have for TSG. The first thing we see is folder notes. This is just basic information on some activity that's happened in this folder so far. On the left-hand side, under folder contents, we can see some old contracts. We have MSAs for the 2 years previous. And we also have some related accounts payable information where we have some past invoices for TSG. To create our MSA, I'm going to click the Create Wizard form under the folder actions. Here I'll select Master Services Agreement and fill out a basic name for our form, TSG MSA 2015. Here we're brought into the wizard where we can fill out some basic contractor information. In this scenario, we're going to assume some sort of Salesforce integration. So here we can click on this Import Data from Salesforce button to bring in data from Salesforce that's already existing. Here we can just input our vendor ID, which we've gotten from Salesforce. Click Import, and it will fill out some information in our form here. This is just an example of some basic data, but we can import both large and small amounts of data into this form. At the bottom here, we have a question, has an NDA been executed with this company? If we select no, when we click next, we're brought to a stop page that says this MSA cannot be generated without a generated NDA. So if we click back and we switch this to yes, we'll know that we can continue on with this form if we actually have an NDA already signed. So the first thing we're going to do here is actually attach our NDA that's already been signed. And then we can manually fill out the date that this NDA was signed, which I'll just set to May 1st. Moving on, we just have some basic information about our contractor contact and the email address. You'll see here that our wizard form does basic validation on email addresses and phone numbers, so if I fill out an incorrect email address, the field will notify me so. Then as we fill out phone numbers, you'll also see that it provides basic validation. Next, we're brought to our insurance clause library. This can include or disclude certain paragraphs in the filled out contract. The first one is a hazardous substances. So we'll say we want to include that clause in the contract. And we'll also include the production system access for the contractor. One wizard feature that we're also using here is this. Not only does this question drive what verbiage is in the contract, but it also determines who this form is routed to when we route it for approval. As we click next, we'll just fill out some last routing information, so we can select Dave as one of our approvers. And we'll also say that the amount of invoices for this year are expected to be greater than $100,000. This will also add another approver on our approval route. As we click next, we're brought to the summary page. This is just a basic overview of all of the information that we filled out, both from automatic and manual sources. When we click next, we'll see who our form will be routed to in an approval route. The first one is production system access. This will be routed to Don. The second is if this invoice is going to be over $100,000 for the fiscal year, it will also be assigned to Don. And we have our selected approver. And we can say that if we change some of the answers in the form, our routing information will change. So if we change the insurance clause library to not include the production system access, this will not be routed to Don anymore, and it would also not be included in the contract verbiage. In routing information, if we remove the amount of anticipated invoices being over $100,000, then we'll also remove that from the workflow. So as we click Next, we'll see that our amount of workflow tasks has been reduced to 1, just the selected approver that we chose, being Dave. When we click Finish, we're going to generate our PDF version of the form and also create the filled out contract in Word. The contract is going to have a 0.1 version as the template and a 0.2 as the filled out version. So the first thing we see is our PDF version of the form, just with our basic information that we filled out. And then we can actually view side by side the form and the filled out contract. So we have our effective date here that lines up with May 28th, and we have some basic information about TSG, such as the address. Here we can also click directly on the contract, and we're brought back to the folder which we launched the form from. Here, if we'd like, we can view the differences between the template and the filled out version by clicking Compare Versions. This integration with Workshare Compare gives us a redline version of the contract, showing the differences between the template and the filled out version. Now that we've viewed that, let's go back and route our form for review. So we can see that with this contract we have our related form, which is the initial wizard form that we filled out, and we can click Start Review Workflow. Here this will auto-populate the users that are already on the approval route, but we can add more users if we'd like. For simplicity, let's just use Dave. Once the review route is started, we can sign out and sign back in as Dave's user. Here we'll see in Dave's wizard inbox that we have the form that was routed to him. As Dave reviews this form, he'll see that we do want to include this contractor having access to production systems, so he'll go ahead and use OpenAnnotate to annotate that directly onto the form. So here, we'll just draw a red box around it and then leave a comment. And then we can save and return to HPI. Here we can see this annotation directly on the PDF while we're viewing the form. Now that we have the annotation, let's complete our wizard review. And then we can move back to My User. Here we'll go back to our form, and when we're reviewing the form we can see that Dave has annotated this, so we can actually make our correction right in the form and it'll regenerate our contract for us. So we'll click Edit Form in the Document Actions and then go to the Insurance Clause Library. Here we can select Yes to include this clause and then go straight to the summary. View our workflow. We'll see that this will now be routed to both Don and Dave, and click Finish. Now in the background this is recreating our contract and it will upload it as a 0.3 version. So again, we can go and click on our contract, and we can use the View Versions to double check that our clause has been added correctly. Now we can scroll down to where that clause is included, and we can see the blue is the added verbiage. Now that we have our contract where we want it, let's route it for approval. Here on the left-hand side, we can click Start Approval Workflow. And since I am the first approver on this, I can complete the wizard approval right here. Now we'll sign out again and sign in as Dave so we can complete his approval. And once this is approved, we'll see that the contract itself has been promoted to a 1.0 version. So here, if we hover over the name, we can see that this is now 1.0. Now that we have our contract approved where we want it, we can use the send email action to send this off to our client. So we can just fill out the basic email information, to subject, and write a quick body. And we'll see that our contract is automatically attached to this email. Then we can click send, and this will be sent off to the client. Now I'll sign back in as my user. And at this point, we've received an email back from TSG containing an updated contract which they've tracked changes on. So the first thing I'm going to do is go to our contract and then upload a new version, which is the version that they just sent over to me. Once that's uploaded, then I want to check out this version so that I can accept the tracked changes and upload it back into HPI. So here I can view the next track change. It looks like they made an edit changing $5 million to $3 million. So I can work through those, and once I've accepted those, I want to save the file. And then I can upload that back using HPI. Once I've submitted that, I want to go into the view versions again and make sure that the only differences that we see are the ones between the track changes and the original version that I sent them. So using the compare versions, we'll again open Workshare Compare to view all of the red line information. As I scroll down, I can see that there were some more changes. The ones that we were expecting, we see 3 changed to $5 million, but they've also removed a clause. After reviewing this, I'm okay with the changes that they've made, and we can power promote this to version 2.0. Now that I have our 2.0 version, I can use our send to DocuSign action to send this to TSG to get an electronic signature on it. So here I just fill out the email address I want to send it to and then click the Send to DocuSign button. Here in my email, I've just received my signature request, so I can click Review Document, which will bring me to DocuSign. And then here, I can go down to where my signature is needed. And then apply my signature, resize it how I need, and then click Finish. Now that this has been completed, whenever I return to HPI, I can refresh the page and see that our new version is the DocuSign version. Now I can see that we have our text up here showing us as the new version. We can scroll down and view my signature here. That's all for this demo. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any more questions or comments, please visit our website at tsgrp.com.